What if I told you that you're wrong? Or what if I told you that you don't know what you're talking about? It makes no sense to say something like that, I understand, and you don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But what if that's my answer to everything you say or think? Now let's enlarge that. What if that's the answer the world has for everything you say or think? So you gotta ask yourself, do you want to be uninformed and be told that you don't know what you're talking about, so just be quiet? Or do you want to be misinformed or just be told that you're wrong about everything you think or say? Misinformed or uninformed? What's your pick? So nowadays it seems like you only have two options. Either you are told something that it's not true by people who don't really know what they're saying, but they're just trying to sell you something, or you just go about your life and about whatever you do uninformed and you lose interest. I understand why. There's so much information out there that it gets to a point that you don't really care. Now, what to do about that? I mean, you need some sort of compass that tells you where to go with your information so you don't get lost in the immense, cluttered stream of information that always comes your way. And yes, I could be talking strictly about music, but I could be talking about our lives. But let's just focus on music and music education. How should we know who to listen to? I mean, you go on YouTube and everyone seems to have an online school these days. You need to question, you need to ask questions, you need to question everyone. Plus you need to find some sort of criteria to go by when finding your next teacher, for example. What's your criteria? For me, it needs to be someone who's very, very passionate about teaching. Not just their technical knowledge, it's not just about their musicality, their musicianship. That's important, but that's not the be-all end-all for me anyway. My teachers need to be into education, they need to be into learning, they need to be educators. I don't really care about being taught by drummers, but if you give me someone who knows exactly what they're talking about because they've studied it, they've put it to the test, they know that knowledge is bulletproof pretty much, then I'm in. So what's your criteria? How do you fight the crazy amounts of information? The problem with too much information is that then you don't know where to go with it. And then we end up reacting in two different ways. Either we accept everything or we reject everything. Mainly because that's really the quickest way to make a decision. To question everything is a long process. But that actually does two things for you. If you decide to question everything, actually you will have to take less information at a time. And that way you're bound to make better decisions just because you're not taking so much in. So you won't feel so overwhelmed and it gets easier. Also, if you question everything, now you're using your own critical thinking. Of course, you can ask other people, you can Google stuff, but if you always have this idea that everything must be questioned, everything must be proved, don't just take it in and don't just reject it. I deal with this all the time. I tell some of my students, do this, do that, change that technique, explore that exercise, and some of them just overwhelm themselves with all this information plus what they find on YouTube. I have one of my students who never practices along to songs, for example, because he's got so many books and he's got so many exercises and so many YouTube lessons that he's watched that now he just wants to do everything and none of it works. On the other hand, I got students who reject everything. So this is also, of course, a problem, because now everything I suggest them, they just go like, oh, no, I already have my own way of doing things. Every time I tell them like, look, you gotta practice this for this long at this tempo. Oh, no, I already got my own preferred tempo. It's not working, guys. Question it. And don't just question others, question yourself. So ask yourself again, do you rather be misinformed or uninformed? Well, if you accept everything, you will be misinformed, because opinions and facts and science and art, all these things clash. Question it. If you reject everything, then you're gonna be uninformed, because you will just have your own biased idea of what things are and how they work, and you'll never put them to the test, real test, because, well, you're rejecting other ideas that might conflict with yours. Question it. Just because you have a belief, it doesn't mean that it's right. So of course the big question is, how do you know if you are uninformed or if you are misinformed? Well, look it up. Ask people. Question it. Like I said earlier, if you don't question what you're being told, you might end up falling into a belief system that is not yours. So ask people, ask more people. Look for different sources. Ask your drumming buddies. Ask your drum teachers. Nowadays with social media, only someone with a huge ego goes misinformed or uninformed. And it might sound like I'm talking out of my bum. Because you see, everyone believes that social media brought this kind of clutter of information into our lives, and I have to agree. There's a lot of rubbish out there. However, if instead of consuming social media, we start using social media, maybe, just maybe, things might change a little bit. Instead of believing everything you see, you start questioning everything you see, maybe, just maybe, things might change. So when someone tells you how to hold the sticks, for example, run away. That's not mine. That sentence was said allegedly by Jim Chapin. I'm gonna go even further and say that if anyone tells you what to do without explaining you exactly why you should be doing it, run away. So that for me is my criteria for choosing a drum teacher or a mentor. It has to be someone who has a very clear understanding of the whys and the hows behind the whats. If you don't focus on how to do things or why to do things, then why does it matter what you do? It's irrelevant which exercise you practice if you don't know how to practice it. And it's irrelevant to know how to practice it if you don't know why you should be practicing it. So look for someone who knows how to break those things down for you. Most of my students only struggle because they don't know why to practice things. So I always try my very best to break things down in a way that makes sense for them. Because otherwise, I know for a fact that they won't practice. And even with a lot of breaking down, they often don't practice. And then I need to find out why they aren't practicing. So you see, it's a vicious cycle of finding out the whys. It's a vicious cycle, a positive one, of asking questions. So ask away. Ask me questions. Ask your teacher questions. Find a new teacher. Get in touch with people on social media. Be humble. Get rid of that ego. Get rid of that pride. And stop being misinformed or uninformed. Neither of them are good. Stay curious. Stay a student. The other day, someone that I admire a lot, Phil Maturano, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name, buddy. He posted this video saying, stay a student. I definitely advise you guys to look up that video on Facebook. And it's so true. You must stay a student. It doesn't matter how much you know, I can assure you that there's a lot more that you don't know. Stay informed and stay curious. Go get 'em.